Okay, let's start with something that feels so big it's almost impossible to wrap your mind around. Imagine this. Right now, as you're watching this, our entire galaxy, the Milky Way, is moving. Not just floating around aimlessly, but actually being pulled, like a magnet, towards something massive and mysterious. And guess what? It's not just our galaxy. All the naive galaxies are being pulled in the same direction. But here's the twist. We don't fully know what's pulling. We've got part of the answer, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. But there are still some pieces missing, and that's what today's video is all about. You and I, we live in something way bigger than we can see or even imagine. We're part of a massive structure, a galactic web that stretches across the universe. Let's break it down. Around 10 years ago, scientists discovered that the Milky Way, along with hundreds of thousands of other galaxies, is part of what's called the Laniakea Supercluster. Picture that for a second. Hundreds of thousands of galaxies. Each galaxy has billions of stars, and each star could have planets orbiting it, planets that might even have life on them. But here's where it gets even crazier. Laniakea isn't the end of the story. It's just one part of an even bigger structure that's been discovered recently. And this new discovery is going to change the way we think about our place in the universe.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
When we first found out about the Laniakea supercluster, it seemed like it was this massive, gravitationally bound structure. Everything was connected and moving in a specific direction. But after some deeper research, we've learned that Laniakea might not be as permanent as we thought. In fact, over the next few billion years, it could actually fall apart. So, why are we being pulled towards this thing called the Great Attractor? And why does it seem like everything around us is flowing like a river through space? To understand that, we have to talk about something called the cosmic web. Now, the cosmic web is a massive network of galaxies, filaments, clusters, and what scientists call voids. Now, imagine a spider web stretched across the universe, but instead of silk, it's made of galaxies. These galaxies are clumped together in strands, like beads on a string. And in between the strands are vast empty spaces, or voids. This web was formed billions of years ago, when the universe was just a baby, and it's still shaping the way galaxies move today. So when we talk about the Milky Way being pulled towards something, what we're really seeing is the influence of this cosmic web. It's like the entire universe is flowing along this web, and we're just one small part of it. But here's where things get even more interesting. In a recent study, scientists used data from over 400 zero groups of galaxies to create one of the most detailed maps of the universe we've ever seen. They've combined information about how fast galaxies are moving using something called redshift with their distances to figure out where everything is going. And what they found is that Laniakea, the Milky Way, and all the galaxies near us are part of a much, much larger structure. It's so big, it's hard to even put into words, but let's try. Imagine you're standing on a beach and you see the waves flowing towards the shore. Now imagine each wave is made of galaxies, and the shore is a massive gravitational point pulling everything towards it. That's what's happening with the Milky Way and the galaxies around us. So where are we headed? Well, the short answer is towards something called the Shapley Supercluster. But the long answer is a bit more complicated. The Shapley Supercluster is the largest concentration of galaxies in our part of the universe. It's about 650 million light-years across, which is just mind-boggling when you think about it. And everything around us, including the Great Attractor, seems to be moving towards this one point inside the Shapley Supercluster. But here's the kicker. The Shapley Supercluster itself is also moving. It's like we're all on a giant conveyor belt heading towards an even bigger structure that we don't fully understand yet. So here's a question for you. How does it feel to know that everything you've ever known, our planet, our solar system, our galaxy, is just a tiny moving dot in this massive cosmic dance? All right, let's dive deeper. What exactly is pulling us in? The Shapley Supercluster is huge, but it turns out that even this isn't the whole story. Scientists now believe that there's something even bigger, what they're calling the Shapley Basin of Attraction. What that means is pretty wild. It's like this. Imagine you're in a valley, and all the rivers are flowing downhill into a massive lake. That lake is the Shapley Supercluster. But it turns out the valley doesn't end there. There's an even bigger basin or gravitational well beyond the lake, and everything is flowing towards that too. This is what scientists think is happening with Shapley. The whole supercluster is being pulled towards something even larger and more powerful. But why should you care? Well, on a practical level, this affects the future of our galaxy. The Milky Way isn't just floating around in space, it's being influenced by these massive structures. Over billions of years, our galaxy could move closer and closer to the Shapley Supercluster, and who knows what that means for life on Earth or anywhere else in the galaxy. Will the gravitational pull of these massive structures tear us apart? These are big questions, and we don't have all the answers yet. But what we do know is that we're part of something much bigger than we ever imagined. Now, here's where things get really mind-blowing. The Shapley Supercluster is massive, but it's not the biggest structure in the universe. In fact, in the same study that revealed the Shapley Basin of Attraction, scientists also discovered something even larger, the Sloan Great Wall. This thing is enormous, much bigger than Shapley and Laniakea combined. It's like we keep zooming out, And every time we think we've found the biggest structure in the universe, we discover something even bigger. So, here's another question for you. If we're part of this massive, interconnected web of galaxies, what does that say about our place in the universe? Are we just a tiny, insignificant dot in an infinite cosmic ocean, or is there something more to the story? So, what's next? Where is all of this heading? Well, the truth is, we don't really know. Scientists can make predictions about where galaxies are going to be in the future, but the universe is constantly changing. As galaxies move through the cosmic web, they're being pulled by gravity, but they're also being pushed apart by the expansion of the universe. It's like we're caught between two forces, one pulling us together and one pushing us apart. Over billions of years, these forces will shape the future of the universe. But here's the crazy part. We're only looking at a tiny fraction of the universe. The structures we've talked about so far, the Shapley Supercluster, the Sloan Great Wall, they're all within about 1 billion light years of Earth. That's just 2% of the observable universe. Let that sink in for a second. Everything we've talked about so far, these massive, mind-boggling structures, they are just a tiny piece of the puzzle. There's so much more out there that we haven't even discovered yet. And as technology improves, we're going to keep finding bigger and bigger structures. So what does this mean for us? Well, it means that our understanding of the universe is always evolving. 100 years ago, we didn't even know that other galaxies existed. Now, we're mapping out massive superclusters and trying to understand the cosmic web. In the future, who knows what we'll discover? Maybe we'll find out that the universe is even bigger and more complex than we ever imagined. So, here's my final question for you. Knowing that we're part of this massive, ever-changing universe, how does that change the way you see your life? Does it make you feel small, or does it fill you with awe and wonder? Let's keep going. We've already taken a look at the massive structures that make up our universe, from the Laniakea supercluster to the Shapley supercluster and even the Sloan Great Wall. But now, I want to take a step back and talk about where this leaves us, human beings, on this tiny little planet called Earth. When we think about the scale of the universe, it's easy to feel small. I mean, think about it. Our entire planet, everything we've ever known, is just a speck in the grand scheme of things. But what if I told you that this isn't a reason to feel insignificant? Instead, it's a reminder of how connected everything really is. You, me, the stars in the sky, the galaxies millions of light years away, we're all part of the same cosmic web. And that's not just some abstract philosophical idea. It's real. Every atom in your body was once part of a star that exploded billions of years ago, scattering its material across the universe. That material eventually became the building blocks of life on Earth. So, in a very real way, you're connected to the universe on a fundamental level. But here's where things get even more interesting. The universe isn't static. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. And that means we're part of an ongoing story, one that's been unfolding for billions of years and will continue for billions more. Right now, our galaxy is moving toward the Shapley Supercluster, but who knows where it will be in the distant future? Maybe the Milky Way will merge with another galaxy. Maybe the universe will continue expanding to the point where galaxies are so far apart that we won't be able to see them anymore. Or maybe something even more unexpected will happen, something we can't even imagine yet. This brings us to a really deep question. How do we, as individuals, fit into this story? If the universe is constantly changing, constantly evolving, what does that mean for us? Are we just observers, watching as the universe unfolds around us? Or do we have a role to play in this cosmic dance? Let's break this down. On one hand, it's easy to feel like we're just a tiny part of a much larger system. After all, the universe was here long before we showed up, and it will probably be here long after we're gone. But on the other hand, we're not just passive observers, we're active participants in the universe. Every action we take, every decision we make, sends ripples through the cosmic web. And even though we might not be able to see the effects of those ripples on a grand scale, they're still there. Think about it like this. The same forces that are pulling galaxies toward the Shapley Supercluster are also at work in your everyday life. The gravity that holds you to the Earth, the energy that powers the sun, the atoms that make up your body, all of these things are connected to the larger universe. So, in a way, your existence is a reflection of the universe's existence. And that's a pretty powerful thought. Now, let's get practical for a second. What can we do with this knowledge? How does understanding the universe at this level change the way we live our lives? Well, for one thing, it gives us perspective. When you realize that you're part of something so much bigger than yourself, it can help you see your problems in a new light. That argument you had with a friend, that deadline you're stressed about, those things might seem small in the grand scheme of the universe, but that doesn't mean they're not important. It just means that you have the power to choose how you respond to them. You can let the little things bring you down, or you can take a step back and remember that you're part of something much bigger. And here's another thing. Understanding the universe can inspire you to take action. When you realize how connected everything is, it becomes clear that your actions have consequences, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. Every choice you make, every interaction you have, is part of the larger story of the universe. So why not make those choices count? Why not use your time on this planet to do something that matters? Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I make a difference in a universe that's so vast and so complex? It's a fair question, but here's the thing. You don't have to change the entire universe to make a difference. You just have to change your part of it. Whether that means helping someone in need, pursuing your passions, or just being kind to the people around you. Every little action adds up. Remember, the universe is made up of countless small particles, all working together to create something much larger. And the same is true for us. Each of us is just one small part of the whole, but together we have the power to shape the future. So here's my next question for you. Knowing what you know now about the universe, about your place in it, what are you going to do next? How are you going to use this knowledge to make a difference, both in your own life and in the lives of others? All right, we've talked about where we are in the universe right now, and we've touched on how we fit into the larger story. But what about the future? What's going to happen to the universe in the next few billion years? And more importantly, what does that mean for us? First off, let's talk about the expansion of the universe. As we mentioned earlier, the universe is constantly expanding, and that expansion is speeding up. This means that galaxies are moving away from each other at an ever-increasing rate. Eventually, if this expansion continues, we might reach a point where galaxies are so far apart that we can't even see them anymore. The night sky, which is currently filled with stars and galaxies, could become completely dark. That's a pretty sobering thought. But it doesn't stop there. As the universe continues to expand, it's possible that even the structures within galaxies, like stars and planets, could be torn apart. This is what's known as the Big Rip theory. And while it's just one possible outcome, it's a reminder that the universe is constantly changing, and that change can be both beautiful and terrifying. So, where does that leave us? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but here's what we do know. The universe is a dynamic, ever-evolving place, and we're part of that evolution. Our actions today might not change the course of the entire universe, but they can change the course of our lives and the lives of the people around us. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, our understanding of the universe will continue to grow and we'll find new ways to influence its future. So, my final question for you is this: what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Knowing that you're part of something so vast, so complex, and so interconnected, how will you use your time on this planet to make a difference? And with that, thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay connected, and remember, you are part of something much bigger than you can imagine.